going on, everybody? Captain Shotgun here, and today I have a very special guest with me, Anthony from MaritimeFoam. For those of you who don't know, Anthony has been a huge inspiration to me and a huge help with setting up my channel, and just overall an amazing guy. So, Anthony, why don't you go ahead and tell everybody a little bit about yourself and introduce yourself?
Sure, I would absolutely love to. I'm gonna mute my. I have the stream going on another monitor. I didn't want an echo effect. I'm Anthony Stewart. I am happy to be here as a guest on Captain Shotgun's show. As someone who, somewhere along the line, getting into this, I guess a few months in, I know I started doing some streams and eventually started doing guests. And I know how fun that can be to kind of connect with the community, not just through comments, but through actually talking face to face like we were before the show started. So I was very happy to come on and be a guest. Yeah, so if you don't know my channel is at MaritimeFoam on YouTube, and I'm on the East Coast of Canada, and I do lots of little reviews, little shorts. I do some mods here and there. I run some events. I run some parties, and yeah, I do all the Nerf things.
Yeah, definitely go check out his channel, guys. He has a lot of great build videos, review videos, and even some vlog style videos that I certainly enjoy.
Yeah, I've been enjoying doing those. I mean, I'll be honest, they really come out of just as anyone who's ever made a video knows, it takes a lot of time, and it's time I love spending, but it's time I don't always have. And you know what? Sometimes topics come up where there are things where you're like, oh, I'd love to talk about that and see what people think or express my opinion, which is like maybe a little arrogant to be like, I want my opinion out there. But I don't know, that's all part of it. We all want our opinions out there, don't we?
Oh yeah.
So I've just been like picking up a camera and doing like a 10-minute ramble, trying for 10 minutes. Some of them have been 15-minute rambles, and it's been really fun. And people have been very kind and very supportive of that format, even though it's very unpolished. And it's something I'll definitely keep doing. I'm not going to stop doing regular videos or reviews. I just did one for the X-Shot Insanity Horror Fire series because it tickled my fancy with its spinning foam blade. So it's not like that's all I'm going to do, but I have been enjoying it just as a way to chat about things. And hey, Brickosaurus, nice to see you on there.
Yeah, nice to see you, man. I still need to get back with you about getting you on here, man. But yeah, anyways, tonight I'm going to be modding a Stryfe while I talk with Anthony, and we all hang out in the comments. I am kind of new to building Stryfes myself. I've gotten multiple of the drop-in kits from Anthony, which are amazing, and I have had no issues with. But I decided I wanted to finally jump into soldering, so I may have to pause the conversations for a second so I can talk to Anthony and get some pointers.
Yeah, and I think that's like I have some pre-soldered I should have had one like a harness kind of up, and well, I do have one kind of on the go, I guess. This is actually this will end up being like a complete one. But I started doing some pre-soldered kits for a few different blasters. Thank goodness for that wonderful Blaster Hub news and that Buff Daddy Nerf, because he's made cages for so many things. And I reached out kind of early on, and he's like, oh, I don't mind if people use my cages, sell my cages, do whatever, which is, a very generous thing to do with your time. So I started making some pre-soldered cages so that people who maybe haven't gotten into soldering and things like that could still kind of get into flywheel modding. I tried not to make the kits crazy expensive. Everything takes time, but my goal with that, honestly, whenever I sell one, I always tell whoever I sold it to that if you going to, like the next time you do one, if you're going to start modding, if you want some advice or help, like I want those kits to be a gateway to people doing it themselves, because I think anyone can do it, and I think electronics modding is a lot of fun. I'm pretty biased. I probably like it more than I do modding springers. The last springer I modded was actually the Nerf Pro Torrent, and I still have some more work to do to that to get that working the way I want it. But even though they're generally not as accurate, I like the things that go were. Yeah. Anyway, Brickosaurus says he's going to be watching this while organizing his unnecessarily large blaster collection. Listen,
No.
I understand large blaster collections, believe me.
Yeah, I've seen some of your videos. I still can't believe someone can have that many. But then again, you go over and look at someone like Captain Xavier's channel, and he's got shipping containers full of them.
Yeah, Chalo would definitely, Captain Xavier would definitely have, he would have more than me for sure. But like, I feel like in Canada I'm representing anyway. But you know, there does come a point. Oh, I mean, I think a lot of people that start collecting Nerf, one of the cool things, and I'm gonna say dangerous things about collecting Nerf, is that stuff doesn't really hold a lot of value. There's so much of it out there that even the stuff that's rare, generally, there's some exceptions, but generally, even the stuff that's kind of rare doesn't cost very much. And it's very easy to come across someone selling something on Marketplace where they're like 20 blasters for 30 or 40 bucks, you know? So maybe you only want a couple of them and you end up getting more. And for me, I ended up getting a lot of blasters because I run parties and I run events, and that was almost a bit of an excuse. Not really a good excuse for the most part, but you know, I'd be like, oh, well, maybe someday at a party I'll want to run an all Thunderbow party. So I'll like pick up Thunderbows whenever I see them. I have 8 Thunderbows. Nobody needs 8 Thunderbows. So I'm at a point where that stuff is like too much for me right now. Like I actually feel the mental weight of it. So I'm trying to sell a few things here and there. It's hard to sell stuff online because because of shipping for bigger blasters. I've sold a couple of complete Vulcans in person. I have a few people who have reached out over Etsy about buying things, and honestly, I'm the biggest barrier because you know you gotta get that listing up there and measure things and weigh them. I've sold a couple sling fires, but I will be putting up Vulcans, probably some Centurions, some sling fire. I still have more sling fires, sledge fires, some Ravens. Yeah, lots and lots. But I'm still keeping the collector brain in me. I'm still keeping at least 1 or 2 of everything. I'm keeping 1 if it's purely like I'm never going to mod this. It's purely cosmetic. If I think I might ever mod it, I'll keep 2. Yeah, I don't know. It's a hard one. It's a slippery slope. It's hard to come back from it. But I have 2 storage lockers, and I don't like paying for 2 storage lockers for Nerf. I might always have 1, but I don't need 2. I don't need 2. So.
Oh yeah, I definitely get that. There's some of you may already know this. Some of you probably don't know this. I've already reached out about getting some stuff. I have a list that I've given you, um, of just stuff that I've been looking for and stuff I've been wanting to add to the collection and stuff so I can mod. Like I've been trying to find a couple Stryfes because I want to make a 3-stage band blasters setup where I'm gonna take the like the motor housing part of the Stryfe and cut it off and put 3 on top of each other so I can have all of it, and then I'm gonna cut it down so it's a half door only. And I've been wanting to do that. I just have to find the blasters and the money because those band blaster cages are not cheap.
That's true. They're definitely not cheap, but they are almost like I will say I have a couple. I don't actually require that many blasters that are that high performance. That was kind of one of the subjects of one of my last rambles. But you know, there are a few things, and there are some things I've needed it for. Band blasters, like their motors and cages and flywheel setup, like it all comes pre-assembled, ready to solder in. It is like a cheat code to 200 FPS. Like it's pretty cool stuff that can like, and that they do that with 1 stage.
Oh
It's
yeah, oh yeah.
pretty neat. I have a band blaster set up in my Dart Zone Mark III. I used it in competition at Maryland Mayhem. Unfortunately, something mechanical went wrong, not with the flywheel setup, but with like my trigger. My trigger kept getting stuck. So I played half the round with it just revving the entire time. So I switched out. To my buddy Trey on the Mega Double XL. I'm pointing over the wrong shoulder. He loaned me the green Griffin behind me, and I used that for the second half of comp. And then he was so kind as to give me that Griffin, which is one of my favorites now. But yeah, And you know what? It only hits 160. It reminds you that speed's not everything. You know, it's 40 FPS slower than the Bam Blasters setup, but it has a bearing scar and it's a lot more accurate. And I got more tags with that than I did my more powerful Mark III. So really, power is great, but you got to be able to hit something. So,
Oh yeah. And that did not work at all. I have been cursed with the amazing gift of being able to hot glue stuff in amazingly well. And when I redid this Stryfe the other day, I had made this switch impossible to dig out.
oh no. Oh, is this the one you did like as a you did this one as a practice?
Yeah, because I had never started before, and I just wanted to get one under my belt. So I hopefully didn't
Yeah.
make a fool of myself live. Um, but I only have this one, so I kind of have to gut it, which I should have done before.
Gotcha. Yeah, I do use hot glue for a lot of my to keep a lot of my switches in, only because I don't live in a if I lived in a Florida, you know, that southern climate, I'd probably do a lot more epoxying, but I don't. Well, I don't. So I always like the idea of if I do have a switch blowout, I can probably get it out of hot glue a lot easier than I can an epoxy situation. I'm just popping
Yeah,
into the chat. Oh,
I
sorry, you
like
go ahead.
these three. I like these 3D printed plates that I get from out of darts. I just bought
Yeah,
some, but the shipment got here late, and I built this Thursday night because we were going to do the stream on Friday. And since I
right.
was planning on doing it Friday, I didn't have time to wait for the parts because I did not feel like paying $20 for shipping
No.
across America. So I decided I was just gonna make do with what I had.
Yeah,
It's coming out.
switch plates are great. I feel like you know what you kind of discover once you're modding for a while, you kind of notice that. I mean, I'm gonna. This is gonna be a bit of an exaggeration. There's obviously a lot of parts out there, but because sometimes there's not as many parts out there as you'd think. I'm surprised sometimes that there aren't more switch plates for common blasters, or that there aren't
Oh yeah.
more options for things like it. You know, I keep thinking that's something I now that I kind of have my you know toes into CAD and have done one project, which your parts. I've just been waiting. I've just been waiting until the mail that you sent back to me gets here so I can make that fix and ship it all out together. But now that I've done some CAD, I'm like, I should start making whenever I mod something new, make a switch plate for it because it having a switch plate does make it a lot more pleasant and it just looks a lot tidier. So especially if
Oh
you can
yeah.
like screw in the switch. Hello, Ghost
Especially if,
C10. Nice to see you here. Ghost C10 says they're trying to fix an Omnia, but it was beyond repair. Yeah, I have an Omnia. I have an Omnia that I was sent a review back when they first came out, the first batch, and my Omnia actually caught fire. I say that to
oh
be
really?
dramatic, but it like smoked. It like the
Oh
board
yeah.
just blew out. I like to say fire because it's exaggerating and YouTubey of me to say it, but it started smoking and it never fired. And I kept thinking like, I should take the time sometime to rewire this like a rapid strike and just for funsies and just to make it usable. The select fire board wouldn't work, but at least it'd be usable. But I never ever did. And then I have another Omnia that does work that they sent me a new one. And my review of the Omnia was it's fine. The trigger delay
Yeah.
is pretty pretty long. Like it's not bad. But yeah, it's not too bad.
I never
Oh,
really got into Dart Zone blasters. I don't know why. I think the only Dart Zone blaster I actually have is an Outlaw. Just because I was at Target and I had a gift card for Target.
oh yeah. Well, I mean that's a really good one. You know what? Look, I like Dart Zone. I like Dart Zone a lot. You know, they've sent me some stuff in the past. It's been a while since I've reviewed anything on their dime, sadly, because that's we all like a sample. But I usually pick up most of theirs as they come out, and they're always pretty solid blaster. They're in the pro line. There's usually like a quirk. They usually always have some sort of quirk to them, but
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they're doing better and better. Like the I haven't tried it yet, but the Venom, the Nightingale
Oh
kind of
yeah,
competitor.
I forgot I have the Venom and the other Nitro Shot Blaster, the Striker 2.0.
Yeah, those are pretty solid. I have a Striker 2.0 as well. I haven't opened it yet. part of my That was part of my Pro Blaster fatigue rant. I'm just like I don't
Yeah.
know. It's hard for me to like my plinking area, my review area is only like I only have about 20, 25 feet to my little I have like a little bear target and a Kool-Aid man and like a vintage Kool-Aid man. I'm like, I don't want to break those with
Oh
200
yeah.
FPS darts. So yeah, but I will bust open that I'll bust open that big one at some point. But yeah, no, Dart sounds good. They're a good company. They do some good stuff. That's for sure.
I was very hyped up about the new Nerf Pro line until I got my hands on the Turret, and even after I put in a actual metal barrel, it was still horrible. I still had issues with it. It's kind of a disappointment.
Yeah, I was pretty bummed. I gotta say, I was pretty bummed about the. I haven't tried I picked up a Sender finally, but I was pretty bummed. I picked up the Torrent and the Sender when I was down at Hasbro, and I tried the Torrent. Everyone was running so many darts through that, and it didn't really have any trouble. And when I finally got my Torrent here, it jammed constantly. But well, I know we had a very, I live right on the coast. I'm right on the water, like I'm right on the water, um, on the ocean. And like, it was really humid here. Like the humidity index was very high for a good chunk of our summer. And I kind of noticed after some time that all of my darts that were kind of out that I reuse for shooting and for reviews, they'd all swelled. I don't know exactly. I wish I'd
Mm,
thought at the time to use my digital calipers to see what the difference is, but they they would jam every time in my torrent, but they were actually when I went back and got out my Nexus Pro X, which worked great when I took it out of the package. When I was trying to fire the same darts it came with, they were getting stuck in the bearing, the B car. So like,
mm,
I don't really even feel like I truly can judge the torrent yet. I did the red cowl. I did the red cowl
yep.
middle barrel call it mod, and I didn't upgrade the spring yet, which I think I will. And I did go so far as to put some darts in the refrigerator for a few. Oh shoot! Hit my camera. I put some darts in the refrigerator like for a couple nights, and I will say it jammed way less. And all of a sudden, darts that were
Good.
getting
Good.
stuck in the B car were going through the B car. So now that we're getting into fall, we're getting into better weather. I'm probably going to do a full review of those, even though it's later and who cares, but I care, so I'll do it anyway. But it also kind of taught me that like for like my short darts and like pro stuff, anything that's using a seal breach, I'm probably gonna start keeping my darts in like a tote with like silica packages or something. Because I
Mm-hmm.
really was surprised at how much the humidity affected my darts. So anyway.
Yeah, I'm lucky I haven't had that issue. I've had a hot summer this year in South Carolina. It hasn't been horrible, thank God. But I haven't had that issue yet.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those things. I'm going to sound like this is like an old man line. It's not the heat; it's the humidity. It's just all
Oh
that
yeah. Oh
moisture
yeah.
in the air swells it up. There's so many good memes around. It's not the heat; it's the humidity. And old people, I've like targeted myself, made myself a meme. I'm just gonna pop over to the chat there while you're working away, see what people are saying.
I actually
Uh,
needed a little bit of advice for a second.
oh yeah,
So
sure. I get
with
advice
the
to give.
flywheel cage, which way do the motors go? Do they go? I'm assuming the red is positive. Do the positive go facing where the darts go in, or where the darts go out?
You know what I'm going to do? Just to make sure that I don't tell you the wrong thing, I have a video on, and yes, I am referencing my own video, how how arrogant of me. But I have actually, I'm going to put it in the chat, not because it's an amazing video by any means, but I'm going to share it at a certain time code. And I'll share it in I'll just tell you here, but I'm just sharing it in the chat for people. So I have a video on installing a pre-soldered kit into a Moto Blitz, and really it's kind of the same guide. So what you're going to want is you're going to want your top motor. You're going to want the positive facing towards the front of the blaster. So that dark, yeah, so like facing away from the dark guide. And then let's see if I can see. Yeah, that's correct. And then you want to put the other one underneath it with the positive on the other side. There you go.
Okay.
And if you put your black wire down your black wire should run down the front of the cage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Another beginner question that I should probably know the answer to. You included so many tiny screws, and my big meaty fingers can't grab them. This screw here, this itty bitty one, that is the motor screw, right?
Yeah, that's a motor. That is a little motor screw. So
Okay.
you could, if you have Loctite, it's never a bad idea to use Loctite. But if you don't
I
have
bought some
Loctite,
just for this.
oh, okay. Yeah, so it just takes like a tiny little dab of Loctite. For your motors, before you do that, before you screw them in, sometimes this cage, I usually give them like a little shave on the inside to make sure the motor wells are sitting flush with the top of the cage or sitting up in there. Do you mind putting that up to the camera for a sec? I just want to see if you're, because you want the little nub of your motor where the shaft comes out of. You want that little nub the shaft is out of to be sitting up in there. Yeah, that looks fine. Yeah.
I wanted to thank you real quick for giving me the heads up about that other pre-soldered kit that I bought from you for the Bruce Shock Blaster, for giving me the heads up on that.
Yeah, I know. It ended up being a little bit of a pain. The details on that for those watching is I actually sold a pre-soldered kit for the Blue Shock, and I did one. I always, before I do a new pre-soldered kit for a new blaster, I always do one first for me and install it. And I did that, and then I made the one for Captain Shotgun, and I sent it off. And then when I was testing mine, I was getting too many darts that were kind of squirreling off to the side. And I was like, oh no, what's going on? And when I double checked down the barrel, basically the flywheels were sitting a little too high. And when I tried to push them down further, they had nowhere further to go. So basically what I ended up doing is going into Fusion, and I actually ended up making adjustments to the actual cage, which I should maybe offer to share with Blaster Hub just in case. But I ended up lowering it so that everything was more aligned. I'd already sent the kit, so yeah, I got him to mail that back. And when it gets here, I'm going to fix it and send it back. So I just didn't want, I just wanted something that was being installed to be as good as possible for them, even though it's a little bit of a pain for everybody. I just took out I'll hold it up here for you, just so you can get a good view and double check your motor orientation there, just in case I'm wrong, because I'm often wrong. If you look here, you can see just an example here. So my negative's on the front here, and if I'm holding the cage this way, my top one, that's positive right there on the top, on the front, and on the bottom, it's the opposite.
Okay.
So I'll just hold that up for a second just so you can make sure yours is the same.
What's up, Strong Arm? How are you doing, man? Good to see you in the chat.
Hello, Strong Arm 11.
Strong Arm, I know him from Nerf Wiki, which a lot of people still use Nerf Wiki for like looking up info on blasters, but it actually has like a page where you can post stuff with questions and photos and just hang out. And
Oh, cool.
way back before I had the YouTube channel, he was always there hanging out with me.
Well, that's really neat. I do use Nerf Wiki quite a bit, but I usually it's like you say, it's just like double checking what year did this blaster come out. Usually on blasters where it's like too hard to see the year on the blaster, I'll
Yep.
go and check it out there.
Do you have this much trouble putting these motor screws in?
They can be a little bit of a pain. I'm not going to lie to you. I've certainly fumbled with a motor screw before in my day. Oh, shoot. What did I just knock on the floor? Excuse me. Right back. Oh, dear. Knocking everything over. But yeah, Stryfe mod. So the cool thing is, it's funny. I get asked quite a bit about like, they're like, oh, can you do mod guides for this, or what about a mod guide for that? But really, like, if it's a semi-auto blaster, once you've modified a Stryfe, they're all kind of the same. You know,
Yep.
you're generally, I gotta hold this up higher. You once you get your things in your cage, you're running a black wire across your motors and out to where you're going to put it in your battery tray and put it out to an XT60. You're running your positive over to a switch, in this case into the normally open, which means if it's not clicked, it's open, not a closed circuit. The other tab that I'm not using here is normally closed. If you wired this switch up to the normally closed, it would rev until you click the switch, which is what people do. That's how like jam doors and stuff work. And forgive me if I'm saying things that everyone already knows. And then you have your common. And all common means is common is always connected to the common works with both of these prongs. So it just lets you decide, lets you use one switch in a few different ways. So then this runs from your common up to your XT60 or XT30, and that's it. Like Stryfes are a basic Stryfe is pretty easy. Unlike, I did my first, here I am 3 years into the hobby, 45, and I modded my first Rapid Strike. And that was a lot more work. Holy
Whoa,
poop.
whoa, whoa, whoa! Hold on a second. You've only been in this hobby for 3 years? Did I hear that right?
You know what? Sorry, I lied a little bit. I think it's been 4 years. I've had the channel for 3 years.
No, still though. I mean, that's in 3 years going from, you know, from just getting into it to having a party business and having a YouTube channel and Etsy shop. I feel like that's pretty good.
It's been, well, you know what? I think now I don't want to be someone who like self-diagnoses, but there are times where around Nerf where I'm like, oh, I'm pretty sure I have a little touch of the ADHD or like obsessive compulsiveness or something, because I just got really, really, really focused and just kind of went kind of crazy and absorbed kind of all I could. And that was part of collecting all the different blasters too. Wasn't just to have them. It was just like I like knowing how they worked. Like there's not too many blasters that you could ask me about that I wouldn't be like, oh yeah, no, I shouldn't say that. I'm sure there's lots, but there's not too many common blasters that
Yeah.
you mentioned to me that I wouldn't be like, oh yeah, I know how to use that, or I have one or have modded one or whatever. So it's kind of cool to be able to expand your encyclopedia of Nerf knowledge. I think anyway. How I'm doing well, Strong Arm 11. How so you've been in the hobby for longer than 4 years. I bet, especially if you're hanging around the Nerf wiki. How long have you been nerfing?
Well, honestly, not very long. At least not professionally or pro or whatever in the hobby, I would say. I picked up my first Nerf blaster when I was a little kid, probably over 10 years ago. And then I stopped, and then picked it up again like 4 or 5 years ago. And then one day I was riding in the car and remembered, oh crap, my mom got me this book on how to mod your Nerf gun all these years ago. The mod book from Luke Goodman, from Out of
Yeah.
Darts. And I went home.
I have that book too. It's well, actually, it's usually here. Oh yes, I can see it from here. I bought that when I got started as well.
And I went home and I picked it up and I looked at it. And then the next step, oh, shit, are you kidding me? I just dropped two of my motor screws and I don't have any extra. So that may be the stream, guys. Finding it in this carpet is going to be impossible.
Oh, that could be tricky. You take your time. If you get really stuck, don't fret too much about it. I can send you a couple more when I send you your stock.
Yeah, we'll just have to do something else for the rest of the video. We have to get it all wired up with the motors.
Well, I mean, you know what? I mean, it's very true. You could still just having you can't put the wheels on, but you could still just sitting the cage in place. You could run your cord. You can still wire to your switch. You can still get a fair bit done.
I'll just have to let you know if I have any other questions with the motors.
Yeah, well, you know what? Like I said, if we get real stuck, I can always jump on a call some night too, and just get like, if you have a question, just give me a hand too. That's
Yeah, that
sweat.
that would be super
You
helpful.
take your time and have a look though. You might find them. Ghost C10 says for finding screws, they like to shine a high power flashlight on the carpet and look for the glare. That's a great idea.
That may work, but I don't know if you can see my carpet down here. You probably can't, but it's this. It's like multicolored and it's got longer pieces and thinner pieces. I actually got my own Nerf rest right here that I got off of something a long time ago that I'll try.
I don't know if that would qualify as high power, but you can give it a try.
Have this teeny tiny magnet that I was trying to use too. It's gotten me out of a couple jams, but these screws are much smaller than anything I've ever used.
They're pretty teeny tiny. I actually need to order some more. I think I'm down to like my last 4.
Yeah, I may need to ask you to send me a couple of those.
Yeah, I can for sure. I'll have a whole bag of them by the time I'm sending stuff back. Yeah, Ghost C10 says, yeah, his is like 590 lumens, so bright enough to make you flinch if you turn it on. So that would
I don't even think I've ever changed the batteries, and I got this, I think, when it first came out.
Oh, Brickosaurus says, you should get a magnet roller from the hardware store for a future. That can really help. That's a good idea too. I have hardwood floors underneath where my workbench is, and that's kind of annoying too. It doesn't get lost in the carpet, but things just bounce and roll away. I've definitely lost a few screws forever.
I think I'm going to run down to Harbor Freight tomorrow morning and see if I can't find one of those rollers, and I will probably find a couple thousand screws down there.
Yeah, you might.
All right, well, I guess that's it for the motors tonight. We will come back to that in a future date. But for right now, we will just solder everything else up, I guess.
Yeah.
Have you on here, have everybody here. Might as well get it done.
Yep, for sure. Always a good excuse. I should have set my camera up in a way where I have a little bit of final work to do to a Stryfe as well, actually, as a matter of fact. But I'll do mine after. So this is kind of an interesting thing. Ghost C10 is saying, yeah, I learned pretty quick to have extra motor screws. They are so tiny. Absolutely. Strong Arm 11 is saying, Maritime, how many blasters do you have in your collection?
I could probably guess the answer to that. Too many to count.
Yeah, I haven't done a full count, but I would have. I mean, it would be over 1,000. I have 2 I have 2 storage lockers over at a storage unit that are like, I have like a 10 by 10 and an 8 by 10, 8 foot by 10 foot, and I think a 12 by 8. They're like weird sizes. But I have 2 storage lockers, and they are pretty full of stuff. And I'm in my apartment right now. I'm actually in my living room. The back half of my living room is kind of like my YouTube area with my desk here, and I have the workbench behind me. And then the front half of my living room for a while was more sane. But like the Nerf stuff keeps like creeping as it does.
Yep.
So I have like a big pile of stuff, but like it's hard when you have parts of it as a business too. Like it's hard for it not to, because I would do, when I was running games and stuff, I would do repairs to the blasters that would get broken and mods and all that. So like I'm like looking over to the side now. I have a big pile over there. Like there's literally probably, even in this apartment, I mean, you can see a bunch of stuff behind me. That started out as a really neat and tidy wall of favorites, and became just like a pile. Yeah, I don't know, over 1,000 for sure. Like I was sorting through my stuff, and I found an entire bin of hyperfires I forgot about. There's like 12 hyperfires in there. I'm like, oh yeah, bin of hyperfires.
Imagine having that problem where you just forget you have so many blasters.
Yeah, well, and like the thing is, like a lot of those I would have literally got for like $3 or $4. So like that's the kind of good and bad thing, is it's hard to leave them behind. I have 6 mastodons because I'll find a complete mastodon that's working with batteries in it and the strap for like $3.99. I'm like, oh, I don't want to leave
That's
this
a good deal.
here. I mean, it is, and then it also isn't if you're just like hoarding it, or if it's just sitting taking up space. So that's kind of the problem I'm having now. Like I think next year when I go to Maryland too, I might like this past year I was a vendor, and I was selling some Gauntlet XLs, the project that my friend Marcus and I did, and I was selling like some printed stuff about that other folks have done. But I think this year I will probably cart down a bunch of older blasters, like ones that are kind of popular for modding, and just see if I can clear a bunch of those out, put a couple bucks on each of them, make some gas money for the drive home. That sort of thing.
You drive all the way from Canada down to Maryland?
I do. It's like a 17-hour drive.
And I thought the one from South Carolina to not California, Florida was a long drive.
Well, it's definitely, it's hard to fly it, because where I live, flights are really, really expensive. We're not in a very high population area, so like to fly down there, I'd have to fly to Toronto and then fly down to Baltimore.
That could get pricey real fast.
Yeah, it's not the best. And honestly, too, like when I go to Maryland, I like having all my stuff. So like if I'm going for like a tournament, an HVZ, and a day of like, I usually end up having like a big tote of blasters. So like it's hard to fly with that stuff. So it's easier to drive. And my buddy Matt, he comes with me as well. And we actually had a third. We went down the first year, just Matt and I. The second year, we had another friend, Foam Mando. He's from one province over. He came with us. So we had 3 people driving together. It was fun. We broke it up. We stayed a night in Boston on the way down. I'll drive again next year. I might even, if I can manage it, I might try to get down to Maryland area in November. We'll see. It's I had a lot going on this year. This year's not as wild as last year. Last year around this time, I went out to, not this time, around Halloween, I went out to Seattle to visit Captain Xavier. I went with Al the Geek. We visited Captain Xavier. We visited Dr. Flux. We did a stream with Walcom. Saw Joe from Xbox Games. Hung out with Luke from Out of Darts at Captain Xavier's like private range that he has. And that was an awesome time. That was really, really cool. I know Al's looking to go out there again. He was asking me if I was sure. I could not make it. And I'm like, I just can't make it. Looking at buying a house, and the house, if everything works out, would close right around then. So for once, even though I'm a guy with a big pile of toys behind me, I got to be an adult and probably not do that this year.
I wish
But
I could go up there. I'm hoping to go to Maryland next year if I
yeah,
can find time. I'm supposed
Maryland.
to be starting college in the spring,
Oh,
so
nice.
I don't know if I'll be able to make it up there with that schedule and then with work and everything else. But then again, I may just have to just not show up.
Well, I will say, like I would say to anyone who hasn't been to anything that like it's really worth and if you're gonna make a big effort or a big drive to get to one, Maryland's really good where it has like the 3 different things going on. Like, get a team
Yeah,
together
yeah,
and play in the tournament. Like it doesn't matter like if you think you'll get spanked or not. Like certainly the mega double XLs were thoroughly spanked the first year, and we were almost as badly spanked the second year, but we all had a really good time doing it. The HVZ is really fun with that many people. And then like the Sunday is really fun too with like the vendor fair and just like all the casual games and stuff. So um, I saw a question in the chat asking if I'd ever been to Jared's Epic Blaster Battle. I haven't. I'd really like to go. I think I would. I think I would enjoy it a ton. Yeah, I would love to get to that, especially before it stops happening. I kind of just from following Jared and seeing like his posts around it, it sounds like the financial difficulty of running the event gets trickier and trickier over, as time goes on. Uh,
yeah.
so it's one of those things where I'm like, I'd love to experience that while I can, uh, just in case it stopped happening, right? So, yeah, it's really far. There was one that was kind of close to me. Was it? What was the closest one to me? Was it Atlanta? There was one that on a map I was like, well, but it still would have been really far, really far. The ones in Texas again, like it's just so far to get to. I'd like to get to Texas, but I'd have to line it up with something else too, or meet some people there and try to play some other games or something. But yeah, I would like to get there. It looks pretty fun. Yeah, I mean LA. Yeah, LA's even further. So Texas would probably be the one that I would make it to, or I can't remember. I feel like there was one that was closer to me. I don't remember. But anyway, I'll keep my eye on it. It's something I would like to do. It would be really fun. I think that would be super fun. I always enjoy the video clips and like watching and catching up on all the clips that Ri-Fi from Ri-Fi channel did for it. And Dr. Flux has like his Doom guy armor or his modified Halo armor or like whatever version of armor that he's got for this last one. So it's pretty fun. It looks pretty cool.
Oh yeah, that's definitely the one to go to for like if you enjoy cosplaying and stuff, and just going
Yeah,
out with a bunch of people and just kind of acting silly. I made it to
exactly.
my
More,
first event earlier this year. I was fortunate enough where Inward got kicked out of Florida, so they came up here to North Carolina at the UNC Charlotte, and that is like 3 hours from where I live. So I definitely made it up there for the convention. Made it up there early, and I left before it got super busy. I wasn't able to play in the HVZ. I wanted to, but I just couldn't make it happen.
okay. Yeah, HPVs are a lot of fun. I didn't last as long the last Maryland Mayhem as I hoped. The year before, I was there till I was alive until the very like pretty much the last stand. This year, I was. If I'm honest, I kind of died because I didn't want to look bad in front of Luke from Out of Darts. I didn't want to look like I run because usually, faced with how many people were coming, I would have ran away. But I was like, well, I don't want to look like a wiener, so I'll stay here and help you. But I ended up getting 10th.
Yep.
So if you want to live, you got to be a wiener. Just run for it if it gets too intense. Like it is funny though. Like there are times where like it's funny to like it's almost like a psychological thing, HVZ, and seeing like how people panic in a mass environment. Like there's so many more people with blasters and zombies that really it's very manageable, but people just get panicky and nobody wants to be the one to get tagged, and they kind of break ranks and like run forward or turn their back or leave not enough people to fire at the front of the line. Like it's interesting. It's almost like, oh yeah, this is kind of what would happen for real in a zombie apocalypse. You just have people
Yep.
panicking.
Yep.
So, including me, I'd be panicking too. I'd run right out of there.
All right. I am ready to, I guess, start soldering. I think I'm just going to leave the whole motor assembly and everything by itself because I don't want to try and solder that without the screws holding the motor in. I guess I could. That'd just be kind of. You think it would be difficult to go ahead and solder it up with the with
I
one of
think
the
it'd be
motors not being in?
I think it'd be okay. You turn. Do you have a pair of helping hands? Yeah, you do.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I just turn it over like that and let them sit in there. I think you'll be okay.
All right. So you said negative goes along the back and positive goes along the front.
Yeah, I'm gonna hold mine just so you can do, because I know I always double and triple check. So if mine's sitting in right side up here, or like if this is my my dark guide here towards my magazine, the front is right here. That's my black one, and this right here, this top one in the front facing has my red dot. So just so you can compare on yours.
I have a cheap pair of wire strippers, so I don't know how this is gonna go.
Oh yeah, it's well, it takes time. Over time, investing in the good tools.
How's the best way to get the middle portion cut out?
So what I usually
No.
do for that, what I usually do. So you'll kind of notice I have like a bit of slack built into these here, and I usually
Mm-hmm.
do that in case I make a mistake. I'm not like straining against it to fix it. But what I usually do is I measure it out. I leave myself a little bit of slack. I use my strippers. I put them in, and I just like, I don't cut the wire. I just pull, like expose a bit. And then I'll usually take an X-Acto and carefully poke in between the strands of wire, give it a little twist, and I'll actually slide the wire over the terminal just so it's making like a
Okay.
good physical connection. And it's usually a little easier to keep it in place when you're soldering it too. So I
Is
don't know
it
if you know what
worth
I mean.
using the motor spacers I bought? Should I use those, or
Oh yeah, they're not bad to
what do you
use, and
think?
they'll help dampen sound and stuff too.
Do I need to tin the terminals as well?
Taking soldering advice from me is a little. So I. Oh boy, I never. I don't. Yeah, I am. I've developed a way of. There's not developed. I solder the way I solder, and it's not really the best way. I basically use lots of flux on what I want my solder to go onto, and heat up my soldering iron. I grab a little bead from my roll of solder, and then I take that bead and I put that bead on my on my thing that I'm connecting, and I let that bead roll onto it, and that's it. I know that
All
people
right.
do tinning and all that. I don't typically tin things. I typically use I use my flux. Like I paint some flux on there, use a little bead, and then let the bead run on. So I am not I'm not the best example of soldering, that's for sure, but it works okay.
All right. Just to make sure I'm, triple checking. Negative goes on the dark guide side, correct?
No, negative goes on the front. So the
Okay.
non-dark, yeah.
So this is feels like I'm just using the live stream as an excuse to get all of this helpful advice.
That's all right. So what I would recommend too, like once you have that all soldered, take a picture of it on your phone. That way you have like for next time. Like honestly, take a picture of it, print it out, put it in your drawer on your workbench. Just see it. Because
I'll
I always
have
have to
to
check too.
I'll have to take the picture after I'm using my phone for the stream.
For sure. Yeah, it makes sense. But yeah, so black wire on the front, and like, yeah, black one on the front, and this is my positive over here on the front, up top. I'm gonna you do your thing and go to the chat. See what people are saying. Let's see here.
Oh, nothing good.
Let's see. I'm gonna scroll up a little bit. See what people are saying. Brachiosaurus over 1K. How much about 500? I mean, 500. You should stop now, my friend. I'm not proud of having over 1,000. I've made a huge mistake. Let's see. Ghost C10. I have maybe 20, 30. Very reasonable. Not counting a Jolt collection. That's fair. Yeah, I had to purge it. Makes sense for sure. The Jolt collection for infection is another 20 or so. That's cool. Our group's version of HVZ is Jolt infection. All the zombies get Jolt. Oh, that's fun. Oh, I like that a lot.
That's well, what is you saying about the Jolts and the zombies?
Ghost C10 is saying that their version of HVZ is Jolt infection. So all the zombies actually get a Jolt just to keep it going quickly. I think that's a really neat idea. That's cool. Strong Arm 11 says, I'm not sure I can handle a drive from South Florida to Maryland. I bet you could do it. My pal, Not Enough Nerf, I don't know if you follow his channel, but he drove up from Florida to Maryland, and I think it ended up being about the same distance as it was for me, just from the opposite direction. So like, it was cool to be able to meet because we live very, very, very far away from each other. So that was awesome. Yeah, some questions around Jared's Epic Blaster battle. I guess I went up too far in the chat. Brachiosaurus saying was hoping to make it to Mutation Madness. Oh, it got canceled. I didn't hear that it got canceled. That makes me sad. Oh man, I hope it's not canceled for good because that one's on my bucket list. Go C10 saying it's fascinating to watch groups of fighters route. Never, yeah, it is interesting. Never thought I'd hear MaritimeFoam say wiener. I say wiener all the time. Go C10 happens in Nerf Airsoft in real life. Yeah, for sure. I rarely retreat, even in stuff like Kill Confirmed. I feel like I always get tagged in the back. Might as well make them pay for it. That totally makes sense. I feel like I am pretty cautious. I'll fully admit, because usually for HVZ, I've driven so far. That I want to make it a ways. And the very first HVZ I ever did was Pennsylvania PA Survival Fest, before it became just Survival Fest. And I had a great time, but I was like the first one tagged. I was the first human that was tagged. It was Blaster Hub News, Buff Daddy Nerf, who tagged me. I didn't really know him at the time, but I just wasn't watching my six. Like, I'm up in Canada. I don't have all your fancy gun knowledge up here. So I was just not, I didn't have my head on a swivel enough, and I got tagged really early. And I did, like, it was a little bit of a bummer, but I kept things positive. I had a good time. Luckily, it was a really good zombie group that year, and we had a really good zombie leader and kept it really interesting and still kind of cool, still very cool and fun. But it definitely was like a thing where I'm like, what? I don't want to be first again. I mean, it'll happen. It can happen to anyone. It's a good reminder that it can. But since that one, I'm a little bit more cautious. So like the next couple HVZs I did, I made it to the, like, not, we didn't win, but I made it to the last stands. But then Maryland, I died about halfway through.
I think halfway is a good point.
Oh yeah, halfway's not bad. I still got to, I got to do some zombieing. I think I did actually manage to tag a human or two. I'm old and slow, so I'm not that great at tagging humans as a zombie, but I did manage to get a couple, so that was kind of neat. Let's see. Go see Ted is saying lay flux down on terminals, tin leads. Yeah, I mean, that's good advice. Like, I know I just said I don't do a lot of tinning. It's not so well. I will say the reason I don't. I should have told you this before. The reason I don't generally tin the leads is I take my wire, I twist and twist and twist and twist. I put flux on the terminal. I put flux on the wire, and I use 18 gauge generally for wiring, and I will stick my wire through the hole in the lead, and it usually will mostly go through, except for maybe a few strands. And I'll just pinch those strands around it. That holds it right in place. I put on my little blob of solder, and it fluxes all around it. And I've have not had a problem in dozens of blasters. So I find that's easy for me. Maritime, do you play Call of Duty or any other FPS video game? I don't play Call of Duty, although I have been intrigued by the latest one. The trailers look pretty fun. Like it's kind of hard. Like I'm.
Oh man, don't say that.
What's
The
that?
Black Ops 6 is a letdown.
Oh,
I got to play in the open beta. It is not as good as it
oh,
looks.
good to know. Good to know. Yeah, I'm like, yeah, I don't play a whole lot of FPS games because first person shooter games because listen, if you're younger, you guys are gonna know eventually your twitch reflexes are gonna get slower. You're gonna get old, and all of the children will dominate you all the time. So I do play some Fortnite. I did play some Apex Legends a while ago, but I don't really do that anymore. It just got a little too competitive. I really enjoy the casualness of Fortnite. I still like that one. I think that's kind of fun. And then generally I kind of I gravitate towards multiplayer games where you're playing as a team. Like I've been playing a lot of Helldivers 2, just like a lot of other people have been. That's slowing down a little bit now, but I played a lot of oh my goodness, what was that? What was the one that was really big kind of during the pandemic? It was the second one of it. It's like you play in a 4-person squad. It's like in the future, but there's like an apocalypse and
I'm not sure, man. I actually don't play a lot of video games.
I don't know. The name of it will come to me at some point. But anyway, I play a lot of play as a team, and then I have friends in Toronto and friends kind of who are all over, and that's a good way for us to kind of catch up and hang out a bit.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my long answer to that. Heat your workpiece, not your solder. Your heated piece should melt the solder onto it. Yeah, I mean, Go C10 is saying all the things that you should do. It's not generally what I do, so that's why I try not to teach anyone to solder.
Yeah, strong arm. The Black Ops 6 is. I just don't see how that could be any better than Cold War. Cold War is what I started playing on, and everybody like hits on it and says it's horrible, but not me. That is the best Call of Duty I have ever played. How long excess wire should I leave? Like foot and a half?
You know what I usually do?
Wrong.
I usually do you have your Stryfe shell there?
Yeah.
I usually lay the cage in the shell, roughly where it's going to be, and kind of run some cord back. So for your negative, you're going to need about that much because you only need enough to get back through the wire channels here
to the battery.
Leave yourself enough for your lead. It's better to go a little generous. You don't want it's okay to be too long. You don't want to be too short.
Yeah, you can always trim it.
But I would say if you put your motors roughly in place, like a few inches past the back of the Stryfe is fine. For your positive,
that look good. I don't know if you can see it or not.
Yeah, that looks like plenty.
I think I may, whenever I put the actual XT30 connector on, I think I may actually drill holes and put them through the hole so the connector can't go back into the cell. Does that make sense?
Yep, not a bad idea. For your positive, so I'll hold this up. I'll hold my Stryfe up so you can see here. So I've ran it. Geez, it's like a mirror. So I have about that much past the back. So what I usually do is I kind of I put my switch where it's going to be, and I kind of just take my wire and roughly snake it through the blaster, and then and then once I see how much space I need, I give myself an extra inch or two, just in case.
Okay.
But yeah, I find I actually keep a shell this is like a little bit of I'm able to do this just because of hoarding and having enough stuff. I generally keep if I start offering a pre-soldered kit, I keep a half shell from that blaster. So I'll keep a half a Stryfe shell just so I have that as a guide. So yeah, you can measure stuff too, but I just like the visual thing of being able to see, like, yep, that's enough wire. So,
I don't
um,
blame you. If I had the ability to have a huge correction like you, I'd do it in a heartbeat.
yeah, well, yeah. I mean, it does make it easy. Go C10. I don't know, man. I'm in my mid-30s and still deadly at Halo. Like, look, I'm not. I know I'm blaming my like old Twitch reflexes. I'm not saying I was ever that great either, but it's certainly I haven't gotten any better in the last 10 years. The mid-30s is the start of your decline. Enjoy. Um, but yeah, for sure, strategy can count for a lot too. And hey, Ghost C10 is also saying I soldered professionally for years. I am not in a million years saying you're wrong about anything. Everything you're saying is the right way to do it. I have my I have my chintzy little method that works for me, and that's just what I do. I'm not a very good example when it comes to soldering, and I'm okay with that. I've made my peace with it. Um, yeah, I know exactly what you're saying though. Like you know, you want to you want that solder to flow onto the thing, not just be like dropping a glob on like you're putting a wax seal on an envelope or something. You want it to be, you want it to flow on for sure. So totally get what you're saying. Totally agree with you too. Look at that. He's right in the action soldering there.
Yeah, I'm kind of proud of myself for figuring it out. But then again, you can figure out pretty much anything on YouTube these days.
You can. You know what? When I started soldering, I will say I went a little too cheap with my very first soldering iron. I got one from like a craft store, and I don't recommend doing that. It just didn't get hot enough, and it was a really frustrating experience. And then I bought myself a better one, and I was like, oh, this is better. And then I changed the tip that came with it. I changed the tip on it to like other tips that I bought, and I was like, oh, it's even easier. So it can be amazing, like what a good tip will do.
Mine just came in this kit, and I haven't done anything with it. I should probably figure out how to change the tip. I'm hoping to. I don't even know where I got that one. My dad gave it to me, and I've had it for so long. I just forgot where it came from. I need to
Nice.
buy like a better one. I have one picked out. I just haven't bought it yet.
Yeah,
I'm
it
looking
looks like
forward to finally be able to get all those brushes from you. I was at the Atlanta Braster Club meetup, which was supposed to be tomorrow, but they canceled it due to the rain. I'm taking a couple brushes to sell, and I was gonna use that as, I guess you could say, seed money to uh, to be able to order those Stryfes and Ravens and everything. I've been
cool.
trying to find a Raven for a while. I just haven't been able to find one that, you know, decent price.
Yeah, no, yeah, ravens can be tough. I don't have ton, like I don't have totes of ravens. I do have one of each of the four colors. The last one I got was the yellow one. The I forget what that's called. I should know. Um, but I have an extra. I have an extra of the red and white one. I have an extra of the green one. I actually like the green one. Everyone says that's the ugly one. I actually like the
I
green
like
one.
that one too. I don't get
Yeah,
it. I mean, that's the best one in my opinion.
that was actually the first flywheeler I modded. Was the Green Raven. I learned how to do that from watching a video from MaritimeFoam, and then I watched his video and I'm like, okay, I think I got it. And then like I was just getting into it, so I'm like, I'm gonna try to make a video while I do this. But I kind of make sure
I
in the video to be like, my video is an inferior version of MaritimeFoam's video. Go watch his. But I learned a lot from doing it. Let's go back
Let me make
over to
sure this is
chat.
in camera. I wired these backwards. So where the excess wire should be coming off the top, it's coming off the bottom. I'm gonna have to stake it
Uh,
back up now.
yeah, that should be fine. I'm sure you have enough room or enough wire room. That it's funny though. That is a good thing. That's definitely a good reminder though of like I always try to when I do my soldering have my wires kind of facing the way I want them, or like if I need them to bend back a certain way or whatever. I don't always remember either. I've done the same thing for sure. Just going in the chat, go C10. I'm not trying to criticize. If it works, it works. I was working on 10,000 copiers, not toys, bit of a difference. Oh yeah, I didn't take it as like a big criticism. I'm like, honestly, I only said that because I'm like a little bit embarrassed about my soldering technique. Whenever it's on video, I'm just like, don't, like I've said in so many, I'm like, don't learn to solder from me. My soldering has just come from having like some frustration early on. If I hadn't had such a bad soldering iron when I started, I'd probably be better at it overall. But you just kind of, yeah, you fall into bad habits real quick if you don't do it right from the start. So no, I like the back and forth on that stuff. It's good to give someone the right way to do it for them to try that first. Strong Arm 11 says, I don't have a Raven either. I've been looking for one for a while. Yeah, they pop up. They pop up for sure. But it can, I mean, I say all that, but like, that's kind of one nice thing if you can get yourself to a big event like Maryland Mayhem or something like that. Usually, if they do have some sort of like blaster con, there's usually somebody selling a pile of old used blasters, and I feel like Ravens come up a little bit. Facebook Marketplace is a good place to look. I mean, keep an eye on Facebook Marketplace. If you're not on Facebook and you're looking for old blasters, well, you better get yourself on Facebook because that's where a lot of them are. That's where I got a lot of mine. So you don't have to, you can make an account and call yourself Mr. Peanut, and you don't have to interact with anybody or have any friends. You can just go on there and search Marketplace for deals.
Yep.
Good iron makes a huge difference. Yeah, absolutely. That like, yeah, for sure. I learned that like when I changed the tip on my soldering iron, I was like, holy poop, this is amazing the difference this is. Strong Arm 11, what are some of your rarest blasters? So I do have a pretty good little collection of vintage stuff at this point. One of my rarest things I have is probably I have a Sharp 92, like the very first dart blaster. That's not that rare. Like lots of people have that, but I have 3 of the original darts, and they're actually
wow.
they're actually in really good shape. So I have 3 of those darts that have like a suction tip and fins on them. And well, I mean, I'll grab. I have them right here in a plastic bag. So
That's how I store all of my darts.
yeah. So I have
Wow.
3 of these bad boys. I keep them separate from all of my other darts, even though I have like a bin just for rare darts. I kind of like collecting darts as well. But those things, I don't know anybody who has 3 of those in good shape. Now, maybe not many people are looking, but those you don't see. And then I have things like I have a manta ray with like really good stickers on it. Like I have a bunch of those old, like a bunch of the old Max Force ones. Those are varying degrees of rarity, but like most of the ones I have are in pretty good shape. I have a Supermax 5000 with all of the attachments. That's the one that would fire the ballistic balls, fire the arrows, and fire darts. That one's pretty hard to find with all the attachments. That's the thing. Like a lot of those ones, you can find them, but it's just finding them with all the stuff they came with can be a little tough. I do, and then I have like the Raven Stinger, the yellow one. That's a newer one, but that one's pretty hard to find. People kind of snap that one up real quick. Yeah, those are some of them anyway. But I definitely have like anything like from the 90s. Those are getting harder and harder to find. I wish I don't have a 92 bow and arrow. I really, or 92 crossbow. I mean, I really want to find one of those at some point. 92 crossbow, 93 crossbow, the rare crossbow. You guys know.
So Anthony, I think if it's not going to offend you, I think I'm going to save this for a different build, just because I don't feel like doing it tonight. I may end up looking up a video and doing it in the future. But would you mind if I just hang on to this instead of putting it in this build?
Oh yeah, the voltmeter. Yeah, man, no problem.
Yeah. Okay. Just wanted to make sure. And another beginner question: the positive from the flywheels to the switch, that goes on this one or the other one?
So you want the one from the motors? The one from the motor should go to the normally open, and that is the normally open is the one that's closest to the switch on the back. So on that switch, if you turn it over, there's a little wiring diagram. It's hard to
Oh, yeah.
see, but if you look at that, there should be one of those should be marked with NO, and that's the one on the diagram that isn't connected to anything. Can you kind of see what I mean?
Yeah, the one that says NO that doesn't connect to anything. So
You
that's
got
the
it.
one
So
that that one goes to.
yeah. So yeah, so you want to wire from the flywheels to that one, and then you'll wire from your common to the XT6, the XT30. So what's kind of cool is once you get, I have a barricade that I modded, and I gave it a 2-stage trigger by putting and this is how the Worker Nightingale does it too, but I wired up my rev switch with the wire from the motors, excuse me, the wire from the motors going to the normally closed, which means normally a closed circuit, which means if the switch is not pressed, it runs. So what it does is the rev trigger, when the rev trigger is not pressed, is keeping it closed, so it's not running. And then as soon as you start pulling the rev trigger, it lets go and starts revving up. So that's a good way to do 2-stage triggers, is to wire your rev switch with the wire going to the normally closed, and then find a place that in the blaster that the rev switch will keep that clicked open. So kind of fun. It's fun once you get down the rabbit hole a little bit more. And like then once you get comfortable soldering, then it's fun to add in voltmeters, which like a voltmeter is pretty fun. You just wire the positive into your positive line and your negative into your negative line, and you just do it. If you want it to come on when you click the switch, then make sure that you're connecting your positive after the switch. If you want it to be on all the time, you would wire your positive in between the battery and the switch. But then once you do that, then you might want to look at on-off switches and stuff like that, which is all fun as well.
Yeah, I will definitely hit you up and ask more about wiring that up probably in the next couple days. Or actually, I'll
Yeah,
probably leave this alone until after I get the other package of you with the motor
motor
screws.
screws. Something I've been meaning to do, I've been procrastinating, is I would like to do like a little series of just like, because you know what, Captain Xavier does a great job of doing like so many videos that are just like an instructional library, which is
Mm-hmm.
awesome. Like, you know, they're not all like, there might not be like crazy entertainment or anything. Well, he has lots that have good entertainment, but like just like the rebuild ones and the just like the circuit diagram ones, like he does such a good job of like making like a library of things. I've been thinking I'd like to do some of that for like just some of the things like voltmeters and installing them. They're not hard to do, but if you don't know how to do them, they seem more intimidating than they are. On-off switches, especially on-off switches with an LED in them, those can seem kind of intimidating until you've done one. So like just doing little videos to show how to do kind of here's how to install a voltmeter a few different ways. So like I'm gonna try
Oh
to
yeah,
work on.
that's definitely something I would enjoy.
Yeah, and the nice thing about doing videos like that is they're kind of evergreen. Like someone could watch that 6 years from now and be like, oh, that's just what I needed. Like I know I watch a lot of Captain Xavier's videos and like other people's videos that are, you know, they might be maybe one of Drax and it might be like 7 years old. I'm like, that's just what I needed to know. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, I have to go down a rabbit hole sometimes to find what I need.
Yeah, for sure. I have definitely to learn how to wire a boat rocker switch, like a switch I was using one time. I was watching like someone somewhere in like maybe in the Middle East, like wire a switch to a lamp. And I'm like, thank goodness for you, good sir, and your lamp tutorial. It was just what I needed. I'm just gonna pop over to the chat there. The OG darts are more rare than the blaster itself. That's around the Sharp 92. That's for sure. Strong Arm saying some rare blasters. He has Sonic Stampede. I found a Sonic Stampede. It's in my next city over, and I was supposed to pick it up in Fredericton on Thursday night, and I didn't end up going up there. I'm hoping I should message that person. I'm hoping it's still around because I just found a Sonic Vulcan not too long ago. I would love to have a Sonic Stampede as well. And SMGL and an XBL. I don't know what those. I don't think I know what those are, or they're not. They're not jumping to mind right away. The Nerf Cam ECS 12. I do have 2 of those bad boys. Those are kind of cool. I'd love to mod one of them and improve the camera. I'd love to
Yeah.
take a stab at improving the camera in one. Um, I might be just asking to destroy it if I get into that, but you never know. It'd be kind of cool to be able to do that. General Stryfe, how are you doing, good sir? Sorry you're so late. You and the family went to the fair. Inexcusable. Real life fun instead of sitting here on a Friday night watching people solder. You are making crazy choices in life, or you're making the right choices. Yeah, I actually canceled our the stream the day that we were supposed to stream because I ended up having an event with my family that kind of moved to a Friday. So always choose your family over your hobbies when it's important. I mean, you don't want to let people down.
And random people on the internet.
But yeah, you want to generally, make the right choices. General Set, the only Sonic classes I have is the Sonic Green Photon. I do have that one. It's a cool little blaster.
I should
Favener.
mute my mic.
Hello. Yeah, maybe a mute during the dremeling. Never a bad idea. SMGL Fortnite Stryfe reskin exclusive to Canada. Oh, is that the one that has that's like the purple one? Or it comes in purple and it comes in yellow. It has a special mag with like a little wrap around it, or like a faux.
I will
wrap
be
around.
back in just a moment. I just got myself my drill bit and need to go get a bandage.
Yeah. Oh no, no worries.
Sorry. Be right back.
I'm just looking up the SMGL. Well, oh, yeah. So I have the SMGE. So the SMGL is available. Yeah, I've seen that at Toys R Us lots over the years, but I could never bring myself to spend full price on it. I kept hoping I would come buy it at a thrift store because I've come across the purple one at thrift stores, and I wouldn't say I'm such a collector that I need to have a yellow variant at $40. So hopefully I come across it sometime. General Stryfe, I managed to thrift some Zombie Strike arrows recently in perfect condition. Sweet. I actually bought. I was in a the Nerf challenge, which it's closed now in Toronto, but there was this like Nerf branded theme place that opened up. I actually met my pal Nerf Talk, who has his channel at Nerf Talk, Warhawk. I met up with him. It was the first time I ever met any YouTube people in person. We met up though. We did a bunch of the Nerf challenge stuff. It was a lot of fun. And they had those Zombie Strike arrows new in package for like $4 a box. And I was flying and I was only doing carry on, but I bought like 6 boxes and carried them on the plane with me. And since then, I've been a couple other places where anytime I see them for that price, I buy them. I kind of hoard old ammo. So I have a few of those bad boys. Yeah, the purple one released everywhere. The yellow one was limited release. Yeah, no, I gotcha. Yeah, I'll have to keep an eye out. If I ever saw one, I would get one if I saw one at Value Village or something for sure. General Strike, it shall contribute to one of my 2 biggest Nerf dreams of having a drawer worth of what's that? Every ammo. It's good to have all the ammo. From Boomco to rockets. You want to have it all.
Yeah, I just started collecting ammo actually. I don't have anything crazy. I just been trying to get some inbox stuff and keeping it.
Yeah, it's kind of neat. I mean, really, as time goes on, the ammo is rarer than the blasters. Especially with what some of the foam was made of. Some of the foam was not especially durable. Which is kind of the cool thing about Boomco. All my Boomco darts are just like they were yesterday, since they're all plastic straws with rubber tips. They're still just as good as they ever were. So kind of too bad that did not stick around.
Remind me, it's a second positive going from the switch to the battery, right?
Switch to the battery. Switch to the battery. It's the from the switch to the battery goes to the It comes off the common on the side.
Yeah, but that's a negative wire, right? Well, I guess it really doesn't matter. Or
That would,
positive
yeah.
wire.
Generally, that would be positive.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure.
It does matter in this case because if you like, I know like wire is wire. So, but if you the way the way your motors are oriented right now, if you wired this red wire off your switch into the negative of your XT30, when you plug everything in, your motors would spin the opposite way you want. So you want to treat this as your positive wire. So
All right.
basically, this, like all your switch is doing here is completing your circuit. Now it's one wire. Now it's two wires. Now it's one. Now it's two. All you're really doing is completing. You're just on breaking. You're just on breaking that red positive wire, and then you spin your XP30 and Bob's your uncle. General Stryfe, I got a nib. Oh, new inbox. New inbox Novella refill pack from an online bookstore recently. Cool. Speaking of wiring, I just learned to solder at school, and from that experience, I plan to wire some rapid strike flywheels onto a Vulcan switch. Cool. I have a Vulcan build that I really need to finish. I need to find it. I have a Vulcan project that I was doing quite a while ago. I got it all working. I just never got it all closed up. I put some Daybreak flywheels as an afterburner in my Vulcan. So my Vulcan hits like 160.
Oh yeah, I remember seeing that sort.
Yeah, so it's a cool mod. It shreds darts, but that doesn't matter. It's cool. That's what matters. Yeah, I need to finish it, but I don't want to. Yeah, it was all the wiring was done. I think what threw me with that project, or the reason it got stalled, is I wanted to put PWMs in it so I could turn it down, and I think I blew a couple PWMs because I had something wired backwards from the battery. So when I tested, I blew them. So, excuse me, I will find those at some point and finish that project. I swear. Or maybe I won't, but I'm gonna try to.
Too many projects, too little time.
There are too many projects. There's so many things I would love to do. Like so many weird things I'd like to do more. I would say more integrations. I'd like to do integrations. That's the only thing with the Etsy stuff. It kind of burns up all my hobby time doing mods I've already done. But oh my goodness, I'm very sorry.
No, you're fine. It's later there than it is here.
It's a bit of it's not. I mean, 8:30 is not too late, even at my advanced no Twitch reflex age. But
what are you talking about? I go to sleep at 8 just because I get up so early.
Oh, I'm usually a bit of a night owl, but I was up pretty early this morning. I had to pick up my niece, and my sister's out of town, so I picked up my little niece from her grandparents and took her to school, and it was much earlier than I'm used to. Hence my energy drink. Strong Arm 11. I see you were wearing a hockey jersey. What are your favorite sports teams? So I'm wearing a hockey jersey, but this jersey is for the Mega Double XLs, which is mine and Al the Geeks and my friend Matt, Nerf Dog, and Trey and Wolfgarb and Captain Xavier's pro team. That we wear these when we play in the MaritimeFoam Pro Tournament, or when we play as a team. We thought, so we're the Mega Double XLs because we're all bigger. We're so many pro players are small and wiry, and we are all not small and wiry. So we are them, and I love XL darts. So we are the mega double XLs. So yeah, so we thought it would, instead of doing like tight fitting jerseys, we would do hockey jerseys, which they do look really cool. We got a lot of awesome comments on them and stuff. I will say there's a reason you wear tight fitting clothes when you're playing competitive stuff. We definitely took a few hits during the day just in our baggy jerseys, because these jerseys are kind of sized as if you were wearing equipment under them. We might a couple of us might do a reorder and get a size down, just to make them a little bit smaller. But yeah, we're pretty happy with how they turned out. My favorite sports. I'm not a big sports guy. I do have a real wish to like get down to the US sometime and like have like a real tailgating experience and do that, because nobody does football like you guys in the US. I've been to a few NHL games. We don't have any NHL teams here in Atlantic, Canada. You have to go all the way to Montreal and Toronto for not that stops. There's lots of people here who are big fans, but I feel like I probably would be a bigger fan if we had a major league team in my area at all, but we unfortunately do not. So yeah, I don't watch a whole lot of sports, but I grew up with a lot of hockey. I would have, as a younger man, would have always said the Montreal Canadiens were a favorite team of mine. I usually go for the Toronto Maple Leafs, so try to support those Canadian teams where I can. So yeah, General Stryfe saying he'll be right back. Let's see. Oh, that's all right. Understandable if there isn't a big team near you. My teams are. Yeah, there's a little heart icon over stuff sometimes. Oh, the Bucks and Lightning. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. I mean, not that having a team close. I mean, lots of people love teams that are all the way across the continent, so that's not like the best excuse. But I end up, honestly, I put so much of my time into this stuff that's I only have so much hobby time. So Nerf eats up most of it. A little bit of it goes to video games. A little bit of it goes to one-wheeling on like a one-wheeled skateboard. And then there's no other time. That's pretty much it.
All right, everybody. I think I'm going to wait and solder up the XT30 connector whenever I get the fly rows installed and everything, just so I can, make sure I get these wires tight, but not too tight. I got the struts and everything done, so I will put the rest of this on hold.
It's good to be able to test with a 9-volt battery before you put that XT30 on, because that way, if you haven't put the XT30 on yet, and when you test it, the flywheels are spinning the wrong way, you can just switch. You can just flip your XT30 over and wire it to the opposite. So
that is something else I will have to look at getting. I don't have any of those.
You don't have an Oh, you don't have an XT30?
No, you sent me those. I don't have one of the batteries.
Oh yeah, just like a cheap one from like a dollar store or something would do you. It's just good to check with those. That way you're not. That way, if something is wired wrong and you're using a lipo, you're not ruining a lipo or something.
Oh yeah. I definitely appreciate it. Thanks for being on here again. I'm not saying we have to end right now. I don't have anything else I want to do unless you just want to chat for a little bit. Thanks for giving me all the advice on this. It's been super helpful.
Yeah.
I will probably hit you up with more questions after I get the motor screws and everything else.
Anytime. And like I say, I have your list of blasters, so I'll keep an eye out, and I'm definitely gonna at least I'll make sure to hook you up with a couple treats for free out of that list, because you've been.
I appreciate that.
You've been a big supporter. I appreciate the kits you've got, but honestly, I'm glad that you're doing it. I'm glad that you're doing it I like to see people getting further down the rabbit hole. That is my favorite thing to see. So I think that's really cool. Yeah, no, I'll probably I might call it a night here myself. I'm gonna finish up this and close it up so I can get it packed up and shipped to somebody. And then I think I'm gonna relax a little bit later this evening. And yeah, this is fun. It was nice to chat. Thanks to the folks on the chat for coming in and sticking around. And there's lots of comments in the chat, and we had a great conversation. I really appreciate that. And thank you, Captain Shotgun, for having me on.
Thank you for being here. Hey, maybe we'll have to. I'd love to have you back on. Maybe it'll work out, and I can have you back on once I get all the rest of the parts I need. We could
Yeah,
finish it up live. I'll probably do it
absolutely.
live anyways, but just be a bonus to have you on.
Love to. Sounds good. All right, everyone.
All right.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you for thank you for viewing. Thank you, Anthony, for being here. Has been an amazing stream. I love everybody in the comments. Usually my comments are pretty dead, and this has been a big boost of life into the stream, and I appreciate it. And I'll have to catch you all next time. And remember, it's custom or nothing.
Bye, everybody.